Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
First world, come in and take a seat. Pay us no attention, it's all conspiracy. We have satire and parody, some funny, some perverse. If none of it's offensive to you, you'd be the first.
Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
And a welcome, and a welcome, and a welcome. And hope everybody's having a good day out there tonight. How you doing over there, James?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Crazy, but everybody knows that already. I mean, it's me. So we brought James on because he had a bit of a comics project to talk about here, right?
Yes, I do. Okay, so many people know we launched the Steins on Indiegogo a few months ago. Because we did what's known as flex funding, which means even if you didn't make it to your actual final goal, we made enough money that we could print the books, so we went ahead and completed it. But the thing is, we couldn't go in demand because we didn't meet the max goal. So we moved the campaign over to fundmycomics.com so that people who haven't heard of it or haven't seen it, because we're not actually shipping till January because we're still working on the book, can still get over there and buy it. They can buy the novels, they can buy whatever they needed to, and keep supporting the campaign.
Very nice. And yeah, the big ones just are shutting us down anymore. They're just keeping everything so hidden from the main pages.
Yeah, I mean, we had the first 3 weeks we launched, we had really good, and then I don't know what happened, but Indiegogo was not. I'm not going to say anything bad about them, but they just felt like they were not trying to, give us a hand or anything.
I'll be fair. I will say stuff bad about them because they've been blackballing everybody lately from CG.
But we went over and talked with the guys at Fund My Comics. Really nice guys.
Yes, they are. I've talked to them a bit about what they're working on. They're really sweet.
Yeah, the setup is fantastic. I like it a lot better than Indiegogo, actually, because the pictures are better. You can actually see all the artwork. You can see everything. It's easy to shop. It's easy to get in because they use Shopify, so it's really easy to place orders and everything. So it's a whole lot easier than Indiegogo.
So yeah, you got that set up, and so now you're just trying to get it all out there, get it promoted, and that's where bringing in other people comes in because it's a group task. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And right now what we're trying to do is finish up raising money to get it fully colored. Like I said, we have plenty of money to print the book, so we're good on that. It's just we're trying to get the final finances to get it colored fully. So.
Yeah, colorist work is really expensive, spoken as a colorist.
Yeah.
It just is when you start adding the pages together, especially since if you do it digitally, that's some people's thing and some people's not. To those who do it by hand, the art supplies are insanely expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes a ton of them to do a book. It really does.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I completely get that as, speaking to somebody who's done that stuff.
But I got connections with a really good colorist. It's Gabriel Taib. So he's done fantastic. He's already did all the coloring for the covers and everything like that. So he's been very reliable, and he's working on ISOM right now. So
that is very good. See, I always like hearing that people's projects are working well, that people are helping each other and doing things for each other, because we're in the indie world. We need to help each other because we're up against something much bigger and more powerful than us.
Well, the indie now is a lot different than it was in the 90s. The indie now,
definitely.
It was a lot harder in the 90s if you're an indie creator. It was real hard because you had no social media. You didn't have internet. You didn't have any stuff. And plus,
it was mostly dependent in the 90s on finding some little obscure publisher who didn't mind going up against the big guys, and then finding some weird comic shop that liked carrying the indies. That's how you did it.
Yeah, and the other thing is getting into Diamond back then, because you made any comics, you take it to Diamond, they go, okay, we'll take it or we won't take it. And the minute they say they won't take it, you're stuck with the books, and you got to go to all the conventions trying to sell them at the conventions. So that was a big push back then.
And I remember there were issues where people talk about, even as indie, you didn't get to truly be indie, you didn't get to separate from big companies completely because there's so much they still had control over. And I remember some of that stuff going on then.
Yeah, I
wasn't that old, but I remember a lot of it,
Yeah, the big two had more control and more, more power.
And that's why they hate sell now because they're losing that power.
Well, they got other problems to deal with now.
Oh, they've got a lot of problems, but I'm saying that's the big threat to them. That's why they hate the indie scene, because it's not just the people in like CG and stuff who oppose the big two that they go after from the indie culture. They attack a lot of them.
Well, if you notice now, a lot of the really good artists in the 90s have all gone indie.
Oh shit!
You know, you have there's some people that may not know this, but Jim Ballant, he went indie a long time ago. You know, he's been running his books. I think his issue now is like 112 of tarot.
Yeah.
So he's and I mean he was the artist for Catwoman for so long.
Okay, if I disappear, that boom you just heard is thunder. It is hailing outside, so
I totally understand.
I
I totally understand.
I'm in the mountains. Very sudden storms that were not expected are not uncommon. So
I understand. But no, what I did was I am by trade originally an artist. I was an artist starting out back in the 80s when I was in school and moved up. And it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years ago when I started writing. And I came up with a good story, the original story and everything like that. And I got 5 publishing deals from 5 different companies. And so what I did was I took all the contracts to my attorney to look over, and then we finally found one that looked really good. So we signed with them, and I got a 3-book deal on the novels. And the novels came out, and they took off. I mean, they really took off. My 3rd book actually made it to number 13 on the horror charts. So I was like, whoa.
that is very nice.
Especially for a small publisher. You know, we weren't Penguin House or anything like that.
Yeah. See, I went through this phase where I've done some stuff under pen names I can't really take credit for now because I sold the names and the rights. But I went through a lot of that stuff. And what I can tell you was the first time I applied to a publisher and they sent me a letter and they compared my writing style to like this long litany of the greats of history and then said, become more modern or we won't publish you.
I didn't have that problem. The problem
And I was like, wow, really?
The problem I had was, and I'm gonna call them out because I really thought that they were crappy. Penguin House contacted me and wanted the book, and the thing is when you read the contract from Penguin House, they're going to give you all this promotional team, all this stuff, and basically you were going to get 25 cents a book.
Yeah,
I mean that was.
They were one of the ones that said they were happy to publish me. It's like, yeah, I'm not giving you that much of my money.
And the other thing about Penguin House is once they get a hold of the book, they may not even promote it. They just may just shelve it just so they can own the rights to it.
Mm-hmm.
They're really shady. They're really bad. But, you know, I got a real good deal with this company out of North Carolina. I got into Amazon, Walmart. I got global. I mean, it went everywhere. The book went ballistic. So I was like, yes. So, you know, after the 3 novels came out, Ryan Wynn talked to me into drawing again, and so he was like, you know, you've got this IP that's really good. You need to do a graphic novel or something about it. So I couldn't do the main character because her story was set, but there was a character in the main story who was originally going to be the main character. So you know, if you ever write stories, you'll start with a character that you really love, and then you build
more characters.
Well, and as you build more characters, the problem is when you get to the story and it bogs down, and you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? And then you have to go back and reevaluate everything, and you realize you're using the wrong character to tell a story, and so you have to shift your focus to the other character and follow it from that person's perspective of the story, which is what I did in the novels, and it really flew. But on the graphic novel, I can go back and tell his story. I can go back and do it because it's not that long of a story. It's not that long of a book, you know. You're not doing 1,000 pages of story compared to 48 pages. So
yeah,
there's a big difference.
I love writing poetry, short stories, novels, essays, all that stuff. I've always loved that. Geez, I think I started writing when I was 11. The art stuff all came recently. I didn't learn to draw till my 30s. because of my nerves and everything. So I always loved comics. I always loved all this stuff. I always like stayed away, almost like kid gloves towards it, because I was afraid to try and touch doing that stuff. So it's all new to me. The
Well,
reading it, no, but the actually being involved in this stuff is so new to me.
yeah, the art was always there. You know, for me, the art was always there until 2015 when I broke my hand. I broke my drawing hand, and I didn't break my fingers. I actually broke bones in the middle of my hand, and that caused some nerve damage. So
Speaking of bone, hi bone.
I couldn't draw. My hand was shaking so bad I couldn't draw. So I put it away. I didn't pick up the pencil till 2019, 2020. So almost 5 years.
That is actually why I didn't draw when I was young, because I had such tremors from all the seizures and nerve damage and stuff that I
Right.
couldn't stop shaking. And I still have a lot of tremors. I still have the nerve damage. I still have Parkinson's and shit, but I refuse to keep not doing things. So I pushed myself about 6 years ago to start learning to draw.
Right. And that's when I took up. And then when I lost my mother, that's when I started writing my stories. And but yeah, now ever since I picked it back up, everything came back to me. So all my artwork's back. Everything's back. My hand does not shake at all anymore. I'm able to draw. I'm able to do things. So, when Ryan saw my artwork, he was like, "Going, you got to do a book. You have got to," because he was like, "Your art's back up to where it was. You really need to." Because and I'll explain. I was in the group that got hired. I'm the one artist that didn't get hired by Image. So everybody else, like Brett Booth, Todd Knock, Jaime Mendoza, Kelsey Shannon, they were all around us. We were all together. It was all of us together. So Kelsey and I actually got to work together in an independent book. So that was how me and Kelsey started out. And we were young.
Very cool.
I'm talking about like 22, 23 years old. So we were real young, hungry, stuff like that. And yeah, it was great. You had all these artists around because we were all of us around here. So everything was going good. Everybody was getting hired. I had several.
Wow.
Honestly, I had 2 tryouts with Rob, and I had 3 tryouts with Mark. And that was really good. The only problem I had was they were real hesitant to hire me because if you notice, I go by James Lee, but my actual name is Jim Lee, and so I can't. There's that hiccup with the name problem, and I didn't realize it for the first 3 or 4 years, and that's why I switched to James, so there wouldn't be any confusion or anything back then.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm torn on that whole issue because I get why they will, like they'll give licensing to certain names and stuff, and even if it is your name, you can't use it anymore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I get it actually to a degree because it also can create confusion when people are trying to find certain artists.
And you have to understand, the other thing that was back in '88, I got to meet Jim Lee for the first time. And this is before he became famous. This is before he did X-Men, before he did any of that stuff. And he gave me 25 minutes of lessons on how to draw anatomy and stuff. So if you look at my artwork is very influential from his. It's also influential from Michael Turner, who I knew very well, because me and Michael were the same age. He was just a couple months older than me. So, it was one of those things.
Yeah. Like I said, I actually can understand a lot of this. You talk about being inspired and pushed because of loss, and what literally started my writing was being trampled. What literally pushed my getting into poetry and all that was when my cousin passed away because of the damage she went through medically from her dad living through chemical warfare in Vietnam. So there really was this push that every tragedy pushed me to do more artistic stuff, Yeah,
and the thing was with me when my mother died, and I had taken care of my mother for about 15 years because of the accident my parents were in. And when she passed away, I got real depressed. Depression, and I'll say this, depression is a killer. I don't care what anybody, it is a very strong killer. I went and talked to my doctor about it, And that's when he started, start writing and stuff. So I just, when I came up with an idea, I just started putting it down on paper. And that's when
Writing
all the
art,
stuff.
their therapy. They help us through trauma, tragedy, the darkness inside. It helps us. It helps us release the inner darkness so we can figure out how to deal with our own emotions. And that's what I've tried to explain to people for a long time. And especially here for men, there's so much less help they have when it comes to this stuff. They really need that outlet because depression and suicide and stuff are higher risk for men because of how society is.
Yeah. And, when the books came out, like I said, when the books came out, that first book did really good when it came out. It dropped, it went bonkers, seeing the royalty checks coming in and everything like that. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, this is great. And then, I had book 2 already on the slate when book 1 went out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to finish this up. So book 1, 2, and 3 came out 1 year apart from each other. So it was like, you got book 1 for a full year, book 2 for a full year, and then finally book 3 for a full year. And that's what I did. And, like on my video, if you watch the video on the campaign, it says I had over 25,000 copies sold. The actual number is around 45,000 copies sold. So
very nice.
So the novels have done really good. We're still selling the novels. They're still on Amazon. They're still on like that. But what I did was I put them on a campaign. So you can not only get the graphic novel, you can get the novels themselves. And the novels that are on the campaign are at a cheaper rate than pretty much any place else you can get them. So,
yeah, and what you're talking about, it was therapy. It was therapeutic because that's what art really is healing and emotional expression of the soul. It is how you express your deepest feelings, good and bad. It's how you share the beauty within and the darkness within. Art is the expression of the human soul, which is why I get so hardcore against all these people that get into censorship rules on different art sites. It's like, it doesn't work. Art has to be unfettered to really, truly be real.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is you cannot, especially if you have a problem, you've got to find a way to deal with it. And I have a military background. I was in the Army. And I had always, and I lost some of my buddies, but I had made a promise to them that I would live for them. So that's my key. So, this notion of, oh, he's going to do something. No, that's not going to happen to me because, I still recognize my buddies. I still go out and see them. I mean, they're not going to go anywhere. So I go see them when I can and stuff like that. So, it's one of those things of, I got to keep going forward. I got 2 good feet.
Mm-hmm.
Keep walking forward. Don't worry about what was in the past, because it's in the past. You can't change anything from the past.
No.
The future's not written. Enjoy your life. Do what you can, and continue.
Learn from the past. Use it to become better, stronger. I tell people about the things I've been through. I tell people about being trampled and all that. I also tell them I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't undo them if I could go back, because that's how I became who I am. That's how I learned the things I learned. That's how I got into a lot of the art stuff I got into, because I was inspired, because I was pushed, because I had a reason.
Right. And like I said, with the books that we're doing and everything like that, the hero. And I mean, yeah, he's a vampire, but when I did this story, the main thing I had to put down on paper was he was not Dracula. There's so many people that run with a vampire based on Dracula, or something like that. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I have to have something different. He's got to be different. He's got to be something completely different than Dracula. And so what I did was,
I get that.
What I did was with this guy, and if you know anything about European politics back in the 1500s, you had what's known as the heir and the spare.
Yeah, I actually kind of do, because I have an obsession with history, mythology, and cultures. So
what I did was I said, okay, he's not the ruler. He's a count. Because if you know anything, counts don't rule. Counts may have a little area, but they're not the ruler of a country. Counts have never been rulers of countries. It's always been king, queen, prince, or princess that rules countries.
They're in the line of succession that can become a king, but they're not.
Well, count,
And usually they're not that far in that line either. They're a ways down it.
yeah, the count is usually like, well, you'd have basically like the King of England's two boys. Harry would be classified. Harry could hold the title as count. Because, like I said, he's the spare. Until his older brother had kids.
Yeah, as I said, they'd be in the line somewhere that they could take if things happened right. Oftentimes, they weren't even that closely related.
Well, back then, back in the 1500s, they were kind of related because you only had you had two boys or so like that. Yeah. Most of the time, what would happen is if one of the boys became ruler, he would off his other brother because, of course, he was a threat. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that was very common. But in this instance, what I did was I put the two brothers very close to each other. You had one who was the prince, who had the family, who had the children like that. You have this count who is the knight among knights. He's the hero. He's the quintessential of chivalry, the whole thing. He's got a beautiful wife now, a very young daughter, 2-3 years old. The country is being invaded by the Ottoman Turks. They go out to fight. They do win the battle, but it goes very wrong for them. And basically, he has to make a deal with death, basically, to save his people because his brothers died. There's mercenaries in the city. There's mercenaries in the castle. They're killing people, and he made a blood oath to his brother. And that's why he becomes the vampire. And in his mind, at this point, he thinks it's going to be one last battle. Once I get this done, I'm gone. I'm over. It's over. My wife, I have a daughter, my brother's children, I got to save them. And then and then that's it. Problem is, it doesn't go that way. And
rarely does things work how you plan.
Yeah. And this leads all the way to modern day. So we're talking 500 years. That everything that he does transpires all the way up until modern day. And, it's that one thing. If you could change one thing, or one thing happens to change everything in history. And it's at that focal point that this takes place. And that's what I wanted to give everybody. I wanted to give them it's a classic hero who self-sacrifices himself for his country, his brother's family, not his, but his brother's. And, he's willing to know that this is it. He's okay with it. But as things transpire, things happen, and his mind changes on what he needs to do. And so this is like the starting point to the novels. So this is 500 years before the novels. So this is telling you how everything in the novels got set, and where most of the characters come from. Not all of them, but most of the characters come from.
Yeah. Oh, I get that actually.
Well, in the comic book business now, especially in the mainstream, you don't have that hero. You don't have that, that man of honor, that man of chivalry. You really don't see that. The hero that would be self-sacrificial, that would sacrifice himself. You don't see that anywhere in modern comics. It's not there. Even with like Spider-Man and like that, it's not there anymore. They walked away from it. And in my view, there's always a spot for that book, and it always will resonate with people who wants to read the story. Uh-oh, I think we lost her. But like I said, he's just this knight, and like I said, he is a knight. And I'll tell you who I based him on. My family, as you can tell, my last name is Lee. My dad's side of the family. If you go back, and this is in the 1500s, so about that same time this place is there. In my family, there was a knight. There was a really strong knight. The documents are there. The stories are there about him, and he was the knight of the king. And that was actually his title. And he was the champion. He was the knight. He was the hero, like that. He had a loving wife. They had 13 kids. They all survived. So, that's where I base him off. I'm kind of basing him off of him, and going with some, story that, hey, this is interesting, this is new. And of course, you're going to have monsters. The mercenaries are all werewolves, so he's having to fight werewolves inside a castle. So I was like, oh, this is going to be fun to draw, and I think everybody will enjoy it.
Absolutely. I'm sorry if I'm a little quiet right now. The internet's kind of flaky as fuck in this storm right now.
I understand.
But no, I find it fascinating. And yeah, I'm very much into history, and I've studied the differences that happen between different ruling classes and different leaderships depending on country and culture and stuff. And it gets very complicated fast because there's always differences in each place.
Yeah,
But,
especially when and this is how I got into history. Now I've studied history for almost 40 years, since I was really young. And the way I found out history was tracing my family and how far back I could go. And of course, when you get everybody involved, when you get everybody involved, family wise, um, you don't realize how far back your family goes. My family goes back for me 48 generations. So we're talking the earliest records of my family is at 120 AD.
it's like going, yeah, I know my family, I mean, on mom's side, and I will skip a lot of the maiden name there and stuff while on there and things. Her family's been tracked through the Mayflower and way past. My dad's side of the family, they know we're tribal guardians specifically to the Holy Land here. So they'd been in this area, they'd been here and then traveling this continent for thousands of years that were tracked. So, I mean, it's an interesting heritage on each side, but to me, the only thing that means in the end is what are you trying to live up to? What are you trying to do honor for?
Yeah, and
In the end, still what you do.
yeah, and that's like my mom's side of the family, and especially my grandmother. I can't go very far back because there's not written records. I can go by what's put from. I can go 3 or 4 generations back in the middle of 1800s, but that's about as far as I can go because the Comanches didn't have written records, and it's kind of hard to find things.
No. See, and that's the thing is that depending on the tribe, what records are there, because it's complicated how tribes sent messages down. Most of it was through art and through stories that were passed on from generations.
Yeah, and like I
And
said,
so it gets more complicated.
yeah, it gets real complicated. But there's still
Definitely.
there's still the pictures and stuff like that we have. So especially the ones that were taken during the 1800s, you can see them and everything like that. And everybody gets really surprised that yes, I have Comanche heritage and Comanche people, and I'm always like, well, you need to look at my brothers. My brothers are darker skinned. My brothers have long black hair, but I don't. I take after my dad, and so, but we're still the same. We're still equal, and it's just one of those things. And we're still all accepted. That's the other thing.
See, I had the issues with being accepted by a lot of the people in the tribe and in the outskirts when I was younger because I am just so super pale. Even my mom looks darker than me, and she's not Native. And so, but finding out a lot of the things, finding out the whole albino issues, all that as I got older, it made a lot of things make sense when the medical and all the other stuff started tying into Dad really well. The tribe quit questioning, basically, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and
Because there's just too many things.
And like I said, when you're a kid and you're actually gonna meet your relatives and stuff, and they knew my grandmother was still alive, so when I went up there, so she was talking about these are my grandkids and like that. So for us, it was not that hard. And the Comanches don't have a reservation. They really don't. And a lot of them have come back to Texas. My great grandparents came back to Texas. I want to say 1911, 1912. So one of those things. So it's each tribe is different. And
Well,
they do different things.
part of the different in each tribe is also how each treaty was done and what they were pushed into too. But for me, it was kind of interesting. It does have to do with the anti-mixed bigotry that does exist to some degree in most minority groups. I grew up in a very Native family. My grandma and my dad were both there and very Native, and there was all this documentation that I was his kid, and I still got the accusations that he was faking it, and that wasn't really his.
Yeah, that never happened to me, and my brothers, because the Comanches see it differently. They would always take white women and stuff like that. They wanted to make their tribe stronger and stronger. That's why there's some Comanches, I kid you not, that are blonde haired, blue eyed. There's stuff like that, and it happens. Same thing with the Cherokee, and same thing with the Apache.
Well, the sad thing with my tribe, and the reason why it bothered me so much that so many people were so short sighted on this, is that we had a very strong code that was supposed to be, if you accepted our laws, if you took our lifestyle, you were one of us. So there's so much intermingling, not just between the settlers and the white people, but through blacks that were rescued from the Underground Railroad that were brought up north and taken in by them, to Cherokee that they ran the rescues and rescued from the Trail of Tears to everything else. There's so much intermingled in our tribe. To have that short-sighted in the current generation is actually really sad.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that's really sad with this generation. But, and the other thing is, I wanted to, while I was writing the book, I had to come up with something. Because if you have in the novels, if you're going to have monsters, you've got to have monster hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was working on the monster hunters, I was like, what would be a really good idea for a great monster hunter? I mean, somebody who was just a major badass.
By the way, hi to Doc. Sorry I missed you before. I've been kind of having internet issues here.
And so, I had my great grandfather. No, I take it back. Actually, it's my grandfather. My grandfather, I was around for him for about 2 or 3 years before he passed away. All I have is what my grandmother told me about him and what my my mother told me about him. And so, here's a guy, and I kind of built this character around what I had heard of him. And the only thing is, I decided to also pay homage to my grandmother, so I made him Comanche. So yes, there is a Comanche warrior in the novels. I put in there specifically to pay homage to my grandparents. But my grandfather, he got drafted for both World War I and World War II. So yeah, he did both wars,
That's a hell of a feat.
which is insane, which is totally insane, and survived. That's just totally insane. When I heard that, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And no, the records are there. I mean, I've got both his draft notices. I've got both pieces of paper. I was like, going, "How the hell do you draft a guy twice?" And so I built this guy. He really doesn't come in until probably the end of the second book, third book. But when he comes in, I made him a badass, and he's really good. He really turns. It's basically a guy that has no care of life. He's done so much stuff. It doesn't matter if he dies or not. And with him coming in, it made a complete. The way I put it was, it pushed the book to another level with him coming in. And all the characters. When you do horror, you got to have a list of characters who's going to survive, who's going to die, who your villains are, who the whole thing like that. And when I put him in, it really put stuff together. So I'm thinking about doing something with him in the next graphic novel. But in this novel, it's the Count. The Count is the key to the books.
Yeah, I was going to say, so yeah, it totally sounds like you've got really a lot of time and history put into this. Did you want to, before we wrap this up, actually screen share a bit and show people the artwork and stuff get done?
We'll do that right now.
Thank you.
Share screen. Audio is shared. So
Right. All right, let's get that up on screen here.
Okay, so we're over on fundmycomics.com, and as you can see, this is the thing. It's basically the same thing we had over at Indiegogo. Here's the trailer. I will pull that up so you can. I'll see if I can pull it up here. You can see the trailer. This was done by Pedro Ang, also on Comicsgate. So he's on other channels and everything. So check him out.
Ow.
So that is the trailer.
Very interesting there.
Well,
So
again, like I was saying, we already have the money to publish the books. So the books are going to publish. They're going to be printed. They're going to be shipping. Like I said, right now what we're doing, we're just trying to get enough money to get it fully colored. And that's why we have a $2,500 goal. That's our goal. The thing I like about this is you can run this as long as you want to. We're running the campaign all the way to December. So, that's the other thing I like about this. You don't have to do just 30 days and panic with Indiegogo or with Kickstarter. So
yeah, and see, those deadlines give me such a headache, especially when I'm trying to help people and coordinate things for them, or down the road for my books I've been working on. I don't want to feel like if I get sick for 1 week, it's going to cost me a good chunk of the campaign,
Right. And we do offer the PDF for $10. So anything that you buy except for the posters by themselves, we'll get a PDF copy. So you're going to get a PDF copy. You're going to get physical books. You're going to get pretty much everything. And we also have these beautiful posters. This one is by Jimmy Reyes. It's a black and white poster of the cover, of his cover. This comes as 12 by 18. It will come in a roll, so it's not going to get folded up. It's not going to have creases. It's going to be beautiful and nice and gorgeous. And like I said, it's only $10. $5 shipping on this. So yeah, it's the poster.
Well done.
And as you come down, you can actually see this is the poster that Dan Lawless did for us. So again, this is of Mina. This is of the beautiful wife of the Count, who also tragically becomes a vampire, which is what he was not expecting to do. You can also see her here on the poster. This is the actual cover that you can get. It is available. It's the Count and his beautiful wife, both vampires. And then we have the second cut. We have another cover here. So you can get this. It is $25. It's 48 pages right now. Again, we're keeping it, shipping and everything as cheap as possible. That way, you guys don't. Oh, it's $25. It's going to cost me another $25 to ship. No, we're not doing that. We're doing it for here in the States. I believe it's like $5 or $10. Even with Australia, it's I think it's $20. I don't think that did.
Now, I have a little bit of a question, which is one that I have to ask. I know I was talking to him and he was saying, depending on which system you were using for full funding or not, one would take the funds out from the backers right away. One would wait till.
This one takes it out right away, just like Indiegogo. Just like Indiegogo.
I have to check that before I look into trying to back anything because I can't remember things long enough to back them and wait for it to come out.
Yes, this comes out. Just like Indiegogo. So, yeah, it's not going to be like.
Yeah, I knew he was putting both options on the site in different ways for people. I wanted to know which one it was for both the people watching and for me myself if I decide I want to try to do this.
Right. And of course, this is the other. This is the other, one of the other covers. This is one of my covers here. This is my artwork. Again, Gabe out to you is doing all the coloring. So this is cover. This is cover. The second cover. I said you can get Jimmy Reyes' cover. You can get this cover. You can get the one of the Count here. You know, so you can see the full size right here. This is really look at. The thing I like about this is you can really look at the artwork on this site compared to you can do on Indiegogo and on Kickstarter. You can really,
Yeah, the artwork piece is a lot bigger for the Image Square. Because that was what I noticed when I was trying to set up Indiegogo for a starter page, just to try to collect emails, was that they wanted these tiny size things and they barely showed anything, and it was absolutely ridiculous to try to get.
And then, of course, we have the lovely Mina, Count's wife, cover as well, as you can see here. And then, now, what I did was I have a whole lot of sketch covers, some beautiful sketch covers. These are actual Image comic books and stuff like that. So all these are up to help pay for the cover. These actual books will ship the minute we get the $2,500. So you don't have to wait till December to get the sketch covers. They're going to ship real quick. So we'll ship those like the minute we get fully funded. I'll start mailing the sketch covers out. But we have, and these are actual Spawn issues number ones. So this isn't just a cover. This is the actual stuff with Todd McFarlane artwork on the inside.
Very nice.
So
very nice. So to those watching in the chat, little promotion, little show. You know, vampires are always kind of an interesting storyline, anyways.
Yeah, the story is about the Count and his wife. The Count, as the vampire, he makes the deal to try to save his country. He is willing. He knows in his mind at this start, which just you see this beautiful picture here of the Count. He only mindset is to save the family, save the kingdom. That's it. If I know I'm going to die. I know it's over. This is my last day, but I've got to save everybody. I made this blood oath to my brother who's already dead, and I'm going to keep this oath. And so he goes, and the problem is he doesn't get there in time enough to save everybody. And so he has to make a decision. Does he let them die, or does he make them vampires to where they're going to stay with him? And if he does, he can't end his life. He's got to keep moving on. And that's the pull and the drive into him of how everything changes for him. Because you know, you've always seen pictures of her. His wife ends up becoming a vampire, and at that point, he has to make a decision. He has to make the decision that he's going to stay with her. You know, he can't doom her as well as him because it's not his place. You know, and she didn't want to leave him. She wanted to stay with him forever. So it's that torn of, I love my wife so much, but I didn't want to lose her, and she doesn't want to leave. And that whole, it's a love affair between two people that you don't see in comic books anymore either.
A bit of a romance.
Yeah, it's a strong, but it's basically a loving husband and a loving wife that don't want to separate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can see her here. This is beautiful. Mina, after her clothes have been completely destroyed because she was basically, he gets there as the world is getting a hold of her, and so her clothes gets ripped. You know, she's got this beautiful gown and everything, but it gets destroyed, basically like this right here. And he gets there, but he gets there just a little too late. And as you can see here, this is actual page 1 here. It is lettered already, as you can see.
Very nice.
And then what I did was I wanted to go big. So this is page 2 and 3 together, as you can see. And you can really get a good feel of the artwork here. And yes, I did hand draw all the chainmail. So yes, I am hand drawing all the chainmail. So yes, it does take me a little while to do.
Done that, and that is tedious.
So, and if you don't know, even in Comanche lore, cats are seen as totem spirits for the dead. And so I used a cat to relay and make the deal with the Count to become the vampire. So I really wanted to throw that in. And the cat's all the way through the novels too. So you actually, when the cat shows up, there's something going to happen when the cat shows up. But what we have here, we have a bundle pack. Now the bundle pack is every cover and the PDF for $80. So it's $80 plus shipping. But so you're going to get all 4 covers and the PDF. So,
Nice.
and then when you get down here for $100, we have all 4 covers, all 3 novels, paperback, for $100. So you're getting everything for $100. So, like I said, the artwork, you can see I do have heavy influences with Jim, but also I show my architectural skills when I start drawing buildings and stuff. So the houses and everything here. And then if you want the hardback novels, which I can tell you right now because I did check, just book 2 of the Steins, hardback edition on eBay is going as high as $80, which I don't know why, but I saw that. I was like, going, you got to be kidding me. But it is, including the shipping with that they shouldn't order, it's $80. Here, not only do you get all 4 of the graphic novels, but you're getting all 3 of the hardbacks, all of it, for $125 plus shipping. And then, of course, we have the original artwork of the covers. Now, the cover of Mina and the Count, that one already sold, so that one's already gone, so it's not posted. So I have these 2 beautiful covers here that you can get. This is for one of the trading cards that you can get, but this is the original artwork. It is black and white, fully inked. It is 11 by 17. So, yes, I did a lot of work on him. And, of course, again, Mina artwork. And then we have the big one. This is the actual cover to the 3rd novel. Uh-oh, she just dropped.
Continue. Don't worry about it.
And this right here is the actual wraparound cover to the 3rd novel. It's $500 because it is 2 11 by 17s put together, so it's a full wraparound cover. It's black and white. So, and like I said, the books are going to go published. We are getting them published. They will be sent out probably either the last week of December or early January, so everybody will get them. We may try to get them out Christmas. It just depends on how quick we can get it turned around and printed.
Right.
That would be a good Christmas present. But like I said, we got some really good deals, especially if you want the novels and paperbacks, our hardbacks. You can't beat, $100 for 7 books. You can't beat 80, for 7 books. You can't beat hardback books, 125. You can't beat it. It's probably one of the best deals going around today.
Yeah, she knew she might get knocked out. She said she was only going to go an hour tonight, so she almost made it.
Yeah, she almost made it. But, I mean, when she said thunderstorms, I knew what was going on.
This is kind of part of why I do this, because stuff happens in the middle of your show. And if you got somebody backing you up, the show can go on.
Right. And like I said, the money's taken out automatically. You don't. It's not going to go till December before the money's taken out. So the money's taken out automatically. If you buy anything, you're going to get it. That I can promise you that. So the minute you again with the sketch cover comics, if you buy a sketch cover, the minute we hit the funding goal of 26, I think it's $2,500. I'll ship it out probably that week. So that means you're not going to have to wait till December to get those sketch covers, and they are real Image comics. They are real IDW comics. They're not just the covers. So they're real. Like the Spawn #1s, those are real Spawn #1s. They are second printings, but I mean, they're not the first printings, but they are. I mean, like I said, the Prophet is a very rare Prophet sketch cover. So I was only able to get one of those. So.
Sorry about that. The apparently that one was hard enough that it actually blew out the internet for a moment.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, I know I'm in Texas, so I understand when it comes to weather. So, but like I said, the deal. Like I said, you're getting 3 hardback novels, and you're getting 4 of the comics. Plus, you can add on the posters if you want to, and they're only $10 each. And so everything you can get, posters, you can get everything basically for under $150 plus shipping, if you want.
Okay.
Because you can do add-ons for everything. So like you go in on this, you choose this, and actually you don't have to do that. You just choose the reward, go up and choose the other reward. It'll combined. So you don't have to wait till the next screen to take care of everything.
Sorry. No, it actually looks really good, and I'm actually happy to look over this. I've always found mythology and dark creatures kind of fascinating. Anyways, I've got that Gothic girl in me, so it looks interesting. I'll have to see what I can do, but hopefully we got it out there to some people who, if they can't back it, could at least take that link from chat and share it around and promote it some for me. Love you all so dearly. And I think we're going to wrap this up here because the storm is building again.
And again, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, no problem.
If you want to talk about the project, I love to. It is a very wonderful. I've enjoyed working on this book now 4 years, or actually 5 years, because I start from when I first started the book to when I first got published. 5 years because I started writing in 2018. So it's been fun. It has been really fun. Really enjoyed these characters. I really love my characters. But the thing is, I wanted other people to love them. I'm giving you. I feel what's missing in storytelling and in comic books today. Characters that you can fall in love with, characters that you can relate with, and they're not sitting there playing politics in front of you. Now, yes, there is a part where the main character of the novels has to do a speech because of her title and everything like that. And yes, I do take some shots, but when you read it, you understand that it fits the story. It's not just gaslighting something.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between actual political story that fits the narrative and the kind of story it is versus shoehorning in and propaganding and just to force in your viewpoints in your politics.
Correct.
Big difference. Absolutely massive difference.
Yeah. And everything I do, and I'll explain, this is the difference between myself and what's going on in mainstream media. And I don't mind talking about it. The main character of this story, of the novels, is a girl named Mary J. Grunstein. Okay, this is the character I had to go with because the Count story bogged down in the novels. And she is very special, but she is mixed race. And I did that not to make her, oh, she's mixed race, here's the standard bearer, here I'm put her on a pedestal. No, I did it to keep to keep the story going. I did it to have the story flow because I needed it to be that way. Everything I do in my story, I do for a need. When I kill somebody, it's for a reason, and it pushes the story narrative forward. I just don't do something to be doing it.
See, that's I think where it's a fine line in that. The deaths of characters are something that hits people so deeply, and it's got to have a purpose. Even if that purpose is showing people how chaotic and evil the world can be, it's got to be done in a way that it has a purpose. It shows the meaning,
And the funny thing was, is when I started writing the novels, I had some friends go, hey, would you put me in the novel? Could I be in the novel? And I was like, well, I need people to kill. Oh, that's fine. You can kill me. I was like, are you sure? He goes, I'm talking about my sister-in-law. I'm talking about friends at work. I'm talking about you. And I'm like, yeah. But what I did was I wrote how they died, and I let them read it before anybody else could read it. And I thought people were going to get mad, get angry, and like that. No, they were ecstatic. They were like, oh, I love this. This is fantastic. I'm like, you guys are morbid.
All right, so we're just gonna leave this with here's the book links in the chat. Here's the book. Check it out if you can. James Lee here. Follow his links and stuff from there, and just check him out. He's a really good guy in the community. And with that, thank you all for coming in, and have a very blessed night. And hinchu washite. Wankin tonkin kichi. Bye.
Bringing you sex, sass, and style. Buckle up and unlock your imagination for a fun adventure with these death-dealing dames. They sail the galaxy in search of spoils. The most dangerous acquisition, and the most fruitful, are the legendary Splinters of Yggdrasil. The Splinters are magical artifacts forged from the Tree of Life that wreak havoc on the universe. The missions are perilous, but the bounty is glorious. Enjoy our hyper-fictional wonderland. How is a pirate ship sailing through space? 'Cause magic. How do they heal so quickly after battle? 'Cause magic. How are they able to communicate through jewelry? 'Cause magic. It's all about the characters. Abo, rough, robotic, ready. Mo, carefree, callous, courageous. Mistress Graven, daring, diplomatic, dominating. Betsy, academic, accountable, aristocratic. Nefara, ancient, assured, adrenaline junkie. Bruto, proud, prominent, protective. Fisty, independent, incendiary, invigorating. Roxy, superficial, scarred, secretive. Once you get to know this diverse crew of mythical miscreants, you'll be anxious to find out what trouble they'll get into on the next episode. Go to abogrizzly.com and order both halves of the first episode today.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.